Hello guys, this is app reviewer Khan, and today instead of an app review I've got a product review. This is the iPad 3. I've managed to borrow it from a friend of mine and I'll be reviewing it for you guys today. Right, let's get started. Let's start off with the Retina display. Now in this iPad, it's a hugely improved display from the last iPad, backing in 1536 by 2048 pixels. Now this isn't the full Retina display that's available on the iPhone. That had a PPI of 330, whereas this one has one of 264. However, if you hold this from 15 inches, which is what Apple recommends, the display looks absolutely killer. It's mind-boggling. The colours are a lot more sharper, they stick out more, and there's absolutely no pixels that can be seen. And it's hard to show this on a video, but trust me, the pixels and the colour quality is absolutely amazing. Right, let's move on to the design of this. Now, this new iPad is marginally thicker and a little heavier than the iPad 2. However, it doesn't really add a huge weight to the iPad. However, you can feel it when you pick up the iPad. And compared to Android tablets, it is slightly heavier. They still have the home button on this iPad. All the hardware, as I was saying, they've still got the camera on the back, There's still no flash. The design is still very similar, almost identical. Yeah, as you can see, it's still very similar on the design. And the bezel is slightly thicker on this new iPad, but it's really hard to notice. Right, let's move on to the interface. Now, when you buy this, it will come with iOS 5.1.1, which is the newest version of iOS. They have announced iOS 6, but it won't be available until the autumn time, probably around October. For now, it packs iOS 5.1. The home screen is laid out in a very similar way to the iPhone, except we're seeing some larger icons for the apps that you've downloaded. You can fill in as many home screen as you like with apps as you download more from the App Store, and swiping from screen to screen on the iPad 3 is silky smooth, even with loads of programs downloaded. And there's also the dock at the bottom. This display can hold up to 6 regularly used apps that are present on all home screens, which is more than the 4 on offer with the iPhone, thanks to the extra screen real estate. iOS 5.1 doesn't offer too much in the way of new features for the user's interface, but a trick that Apple has learned from Google's Android is the notifications bar, which can be accessed simply by swiping down from the top of the screen, as you can see right now. This contains information on everything, basically, from unread mail messages to notifications, e.g. from messages or games. I haven't got any at the moment, but you can program it. For example, if you just go into settings and go into notifications, you can see, for example, here I've got Angry Birds, so it will come up at the top here. Any new notifications there are will just come up. You can just swipe down and you'll be able to see them very easily. Right, next thing, hardware-wise, the RAM on this iPad has been improved to 1 GB, whereas 512 megs of RAM on the iPad 2. And the processor is also improved, still running at clocked at 1 GHz dual core, but now it packs quad-core graphics. Now, for example, this is very good. For example, on a game like Real Racing 2, you can really notice the graphics. I'll just launch it for you now. As I said before, it'll be hard for you to see on a video, but I'll just launch it for you to see. Right. Taking a bit of time to download. Let's just go for a very simple race, just to show you what this app and what the screen is able to do. The screen really does pack a lot more punch than the iPad 2. I mean, the colours really do stand out. I'm not very good at this game. Hopefully you just saw what this new iPad has to offer. Basically, if you want a simple and a most slick user interface, then you're in for a treat. It's not the most complete system out there, but iOS 5.1 is knocking the socks off the users who love the iPad experience and don't give two hoots about Android widgets. The iPad 3 can do nearly everything the little iPhone 4 can do, with the exception of voice calling, and also Siri. It's not available at the moment. However, it will be available on iOS 6. That's going to be a great addition for all the fans of Siri out there. Right, let's go on to the next thing, which is the camera. Right, this iPad offers 5 megapixel camera with a 1080p video recording capabilities. As you can see, let me just snap a photo. Very simple. The shutter on this is extremely quick. Now, if you compare this to the second generation iPad, which had a very, very bad camera of 0.7 megapixels, this is a much welcomed improvement. And also, the aperture's been improved to a 2.4 aperture, the same one which is found on the iPhone, and it has a 5-element lens as well. And the video is also now 1080p HD recording compared to 720p. Overall, a lot better. Also, I forgot to mention that this iPad also can now do 4G LTE, but in the UK that's not available. But in America that is available for people if they have the 4G version of the iPad. That does cost more though. Right. We should also mention that tap to focus on this mode of camera works very well, as you can just see here. It also has face detection. I can't show that at the moment because this is just a video of a computer. However, the face detection and tap to focus on this, which have been basically pioneered by Apple, works very, very, very well. So on the camera front, it's a much improvement, and also now it has the capability of doing HDR, which it didn't have on the iPad 2 or the iPad 1. Now, for the media, most people we speak to use the iPad for two things, either internet browsing or media consumption. The capacities aren't up with the third iteration of Apple's tablet though. That's going to be a bit of a worry. When you look at some of the media sizes now on offer, for example, Infinity Blade 2, that takes up to a gig of storage on the iPad, and this iPad here I've got 16 gigs, and I've got plenty of music but I haven't got that many apps, and I've only got 2 gigs of memory left. Now that is a problem if you go for the 16 gig iPad. They do offer 32 and 64 gig models, however the price on that will be a lot more. Right, let's move to music. Music used to be the core focus of any Apple product, but that's clearly no longer the case. Now to say the Fruity Foam has lost its way when it comes to audio playback. It's one of the elements that Apple has designed to give a widget-like experience to. I'll just launch it for you now. Both in the lock screen and the multitasking pane, and users will really feel the benefit of being able to control their tunes from anywhere within the system. However, I must warn that you have to download from iTunes, which does cost money, and it's quite hard to download from the internet because it's a very long-winded system. However, it's not a terrible system, but if you're using the new iPad 3 to listen to some tunes, there's a lot more you're going to want from the music app when flicking through tracks. Larger icons would make much more sense here. However, the Apple decided to use a lot smaller icons when it could have used a lot bigger ones, because it's got 9.7 inches of real estate available. Right, let's move on to the battery life. Now, this battery life on one charge got us between 3 to 5 days of usage. That's with moderate usage, with a little bit of internet and a little bit of games. However, that Retina display does use a lot of the battery. That is one downside of having such a high-res display. But still, not bad at all, because it's able to offer 10 hours of standard users, and I've tested that to be quite true. I was getting about 9.5, 10 hours when using the iPad, and the standby time is absolutely brilliant, getting over a month of standby time. Now let's go to the apps. When it comes to apps, the App Store has to offer 200,000 apps, which are made just for the iPad, and also 625,000 apps which are made for the iPhone, which can be downloaded. Obviously, they do not look and feel as good. However, they are still available to download. Google Maps on the iPad 3 is really upgraded over the iterations we've seen in years gone past. There's still nearly a hint of inbuilt sat-nav, but there are some really nice options in there that makes the new iPad a clever navigation device. For instance, you can see traffic. If I can just see where that is now. Yeah, if you turn traffic on, you'll be able to see traffic nearby here. See, for example, here you can see it's highlighted green, meaning there isn't much traffic and the roads are clear. This is a really nice feature on Google Maps that they've just announced as well. Also, with iOS 6 coming in the near future, that will use Apple's own apps rather than Google Maps, because Apple's decided to go with its own apps because it doesn't want to fall into the hands of its competitor, Google. I've had this iPad for a few months, and we've been using it day in, day out. Whatever you want a tablet is a completely different story, and once you've tried the new iPad, the rest just doesn't simply stack up, including the iPad 2. It's a brilliant, brilliant experience. Even after all this time that I've had it for, which has been easily 3 months, the Retina display still wows me. However, we like a SD card reader, which would be very helpful because that would allow us to expand the storage, and since some of the apps nowadays do take quite a lot of memory, that would be a very useful feature. However, we really don't think Apple will implement this in the near future. It's almost impossible to give a final verdict on an Apple product that everyone will agree with, as there's so much about this device that's entirely subjective. The new iPad 3, like many Apple's products, is slightly overpriced. However, a lot of people did queue up to buy this item on the first day, and I think it sold 3 million on its first week. Some of the stuff that I do like is the Retina display. It's absolutely brilliant, and I don't even need to repeat that again. The display, it's clear, it's bright, it's crisp. Essentially, it properly expands the smartphone experience onto a larger tablet and takes us into a new generation of displays. New tablets coming in will definitely try and compete with the iPad, and so far we haven't seen a display anything like on a tablet. Now the user interface, another element that polarizes opinion. The user, if you have other Apple products such as the iPhone or iPod, you'll be very, very similar, and you'll be very familiar with this user experience. However, if you've never had an Apple product, you may want to try it in an Apple store. If you like the Android experience, then you probably won't like the experience on the iPad, because you'll be limited to the iTunes and App Store, and you won't be able to play flash movies as such on the internet. However, in the near future, that is also going to be not being able to happen on Android devices as well, as Adobe just cancelled Flash for all devices. Some of the things that I didn't like were that it's slightly heavier. That doesn't make that much of a difference, but you can feel it in the hand. And also, the battery life I thought would be a little bit better, and the Retina display does really sap some of the battery life. However, this iPad in the UK costs £399 for the 16GB variant, and $499 in the US. And for that value, I think this is a very, very good tablet, and everyone will like it. But it's good for all ages, and at the moment, there's just no competition that stacks up to the iPad. There's also the possibility of going for the iPad 2, which costs £329. And I recommend, if you already have an iPad 2 that is, you shouldn't upgrade, because it's not that big of a difference, and you'll only be going for the Retina display. Even though it is very, very good, that can't be just one reason to go for the new iPad. Although, if you have an iPad 1, or you've never owned a tablet, then this is a brilliant, brilliant tablet for you to buy. It offers everything from videos, apps, games, music, and once again, that display is absolutely killer. So overall, I would recommend this app any day over any other Android tablet, or any tablet for that matter. Even Windows 8 tablets just can't compete with this. Alright, thank you for watching my videos. I hope that helped you decide if you want to buy an iPad. Like, subscribe, write down what I should do next, comment, write down what other tablet reviews I could do, or phones, Thank you for watching, and goodbye.